Hello, and thank you for joining us again on another episode of NCI Live. Joining me today is a technical solutions specialist from Network Center, John. John, how you doing?
Hey, good. Good to be here.
Very cool, John. Thank you again. We're going to be covering the Microsoft updates for fall of 2023. But real quick, some housekeeping. I wanted to let everybody know that we are live. So if you'd like to chat us your questions on YouTube, today we're having some issues with LinkedIn. So if you are trying to join us on LinkedIn, it's just going to send you over to YouTube, to the YouTube platform. But feel free to chat us your questions, and John and I will do our best to answer those questions. And with that, John, why don't you reintroduce yourself to those that are watching?
Yeah, I'm a technical solution specialist here at Network Center, and I work with our technology team to talk to customers about current technologies, new technologies coming up, and look through environments to see what kind of technologies might make sense for them to look at in the future. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, great. Thanks again for coming on to NCI Live. And without any further ado, there's been a lot of activity in Microsoft in just the last month or so, and even more so coming up in the next quarter. But let's talk briefly then about what you've seen and what Microsoft has announced.
Yeah, I
So
think
take it away.
sure. I think the main thing that everybody is talking about these days is AI, artificial intelligence, and Microsoft AI. Although it's been around for a little while now, they're streamlining it and working it into the different environments that Microsoft offers in 365. So, if you're unfamiliar with Microsoft AI, it's kind of what I guess a lot of people think of when they talk about AI, but basically it's a language model that is almost like a personal assistant for you to help you put things together, search for information, and it kind of starts to learn, your environment and what you want to present. The AI assisted like ChatGPT and other platforms out there is nice for just general information or very specific information all the way down to source you know uh, labeling sources like where they get the information from and everything. So with Microsoft, they've started building it into their online platform. It's been part of Bing for a while now, if you've had a chance to see it. And that was in the last update. I think we talked about that as far as assisted searching through Bing. So, but it can help you do a lot of different things, help you create presentations. The online version of it, if you're just going through the web, you can say, help me plan a trip to, Florida for this fall, and it'll come up with ideas and kind of, like I said, that kind of personal assistance piece of it. So.
To be clear, what you're referring to really is the engine that Microsoft is putting all their efforts into, and Microsoft is going to be implementing this engine, and they already have been for a few months now on a lot of things, but they're going to be doing this more and more and more and more throughout their entire product line, whether it be the Azure, the 365 stack, the Bing, even the Windows OS. They're going to be putting pieces of this everywhere, and you'll be able to interact with it in natural language, i.e., the language model you were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's exciting.
So, the first big thing, I guess, that's been announced and is on its way to everybody's, I guess, desktops is Copilot. Microsoft Copilot has been in the works for a while now, and basically it's that kind of intelligent assistant that you can have with you to help you create lots of different things in the 365 environment. So you can use it for email responses. You can say, Copilot, help me respond to this email in a positive way that includes this, this, and this. And it'll actually generate an email for you to send back to a person. And obviously, you have to be careful with that. You want to make sure that you kind of humanize it a little bit. You don't want it to sound like it's coming from a machine. But
Yep.
it's something that you can use for email responses. They're putting it in the Office apps. So Excel, Word, PowerPoint, you can use it for presentations. You can actually get it to source, you know, pictures. Like create me a presentation that talks about this and has pictures of orange fish on it, and it'll actually source orange fish from the internet and plop it onto your proposal or your presentation. They do have a lot of features now coming in Teams specifically, so within meetings. And even chatting, when you're using the chat window, you can actually use Copilot to put together information to share during your chat. So they're going to make it kind of on demand, basically, for you to be able to use.
That's very cool. Yep, I've seen the video on that. There's one video out on Microsoft's website that kind of summarizes the Copilot product. And it's, to be clear, they have Copilot for, and then it's Copilot for Office, Copilot for Teams, Copilot for fill in the blank. And I think it's amazing some of the stuff they're doing. It takes the heavy lifting out of the 365 or just business apps in general. Like how often during a day do you write a letter, or how often during a day do you make a presentation?
And I think
Yeah.
when you talk about AI and where it gets the data from, obviously it sources stuff through the internet, but you can actually use it through Teams or through the 365 environment to source your own documentation. So you can actually give it access to files to where you can say, show me a report of this, of how many sales we've had in the last 2 months. And if it has access to that data, it'll actually go out there and parse through that data and put it together in a presentation format for you. Now, the thing that you have to be careful with is you want to make sure that through your own data governance and security that you give the right people the right access to the right data, because you could say, show me the salaries of every person in my company, and if it has access to that, it'll show you the salary to of all the people in your company. So so you do have to be very cautious with giving it that kind of access. And
so go ahead.
and I was just going to mention kind of the last bullet on here that it does, to get Copilot, you do have to have the Microsoft stack of 365 licensing in standard, premium, or the E-series. But the Microsoft 365 licensing, it won't be available in like Office 365 E3 or any of the Office licensing.
Right. So to be clear, Copilot is not available right this minute. Do you have the information on the release date, like when you can buy it dates, when you can actually go out and get it?
Yeah, so it's available right now for enterprise users, but won't be available until the beginning of next year for normal,
Everybody,
users,
basically.
everybody users. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard February is what I heard.
Yeah, I saw
The announcement.
January and February, so we'll see. I guess what actual date it comes out with.
Yeah.
And you do have to have the as far as the Teams part of it, you do have to have the upgraded Teams console. So you do have to
Teams Premium.
Teams Premium. You have to toggle that and get that Teams license, I guess, if you want to call it that, or install. So
I'm going to throw out a thought exercise here. It sounds to me like the reason it's Microsoft has historically given people dates of like, okay, it's this far out and this far out. I think in this case it's actually warranted, because correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you've got things that need to be prepared for. I heard one example of you've got the data, and in theory, somebody might have access that they don't even know about to the salaries. Like say there's just a spreadsheet out there that happened to have the salaries of the president, CEO, VP, all that, management, or some other sensitive HR data, for example, that you may not know that you have access to, but you ask Copilot to go find it, and it will. So in theory, you need to if you're really want to take advantage of this, it sounds like you need to take the time to prepare for it. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. Yep. And I would say preparing that environment is probably more critical to companies who feel like they're going to have a lot of people that are going to use Copilot for it. So if it's something that you're not, I guess, going to use right away, and you're going to lock down your documents
Yep.
for everybody just based on user level of access, then the indexing for Copilot wouldn't really matter at that point, right? But if you are going to use Copilot and that service, that indexing service that looks for that data is going to be active, then you're going to want to definitely make sure that you have the right access to the right information.
Certainly, certainly. Also, it sounds to me like, so what you mentioned too about Office 365 and Microsoft 365. Would it also be fair to say that you need to, if you need to, get the proper licenses in order, right? Like if you're on
Correct.
an
Yeah,
Office
and
3, the older licensing, you need to get on the Microsoft
you'd want to do
licensing.
that, and you'd want to also get something that has data governance capabilities to be able to lock down some of those files for DLP and access control. So you'd want to make sure that you're going through that data prior to the release or the adoption of Copilot.
And really, I mean, at a fundamental level, one of the key things you need to do is get that data into the cloud.
Correct.
I
Yep.
mean, the power of all these things we're talking about really relies on having that data accessible from the cloud.
Well, and that's the I guess the crux in Copilot is that it's not going to look at on-prem servers and look through data that's hosted on-prem. It's going to look at the 365 environment exclusively for your data, but it will open its search to the internet as well for it. But
Cool. No, I mean,
so
I'm one of the people that you ask anybody, I'm really excited for Copilot. It's going to take away a lot of the work. And did you make this, you made this presentation and how long did it take you?
it probably took me, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe.
Okay. So it took you 30 minutes to make the presentation. You could probably ask Copilot, say, make me a presentation of the new features in Microsoft 365, and it would go through and, you know, make a, I don't know, 10-page presentation, and it would do it and just literally grab all the new features
Probably
and
in
make
about a
a nice
minute,
little
you know, and
less
less
than
than a
30
minute, and
seconds.
you'd have to just go through and clean it up and make
Yeah.
sure it's the data that you want, and that's the thing
Yeah.
too. I think with any of these AI driven, like email responses or anything like that,
Yeah.
you gotta go through and validate the data that's in it, even though it is sourcing it. You just don't want data in there that doesn't directly represent the point that you're trying to make or the presentation or the communication that you want to get across. So you want to be a little bit careful with
Right.
just hitting send after it shows you a brief view of it. So, but
Absolutely.
definitely cool stuff. It's come a long way from autocorrect for spelling to Copilot, something that can actually add in almost like a personalized touch to
The,
creating a document. So,
the great grandson of Clippy.
right.
All right. What else? What else you got for us, John?
All right. So along with the AI, this deck is a little bit front loaded with AI, but Microsoft Bing has kind of expanded a little bit more of its offerings. So now you can go in and ask Bing anything from complex questions to general advice. Kind of like if we're familiar with going to, let's say, Google and just asking a question about something like, what's the atomic number of iron? And it's going to come back
Mm,
with like an answer for the atomic number of iron. Um,
mhm.
so you could say the same thing just through Bing, but you can ask it just generalized questions, or you can ask it a very complex, detailed question, and it's going to come back with cited references and information on how to do something like how to build a shed in my backyard, you could say. And it would come through with options of building a shed and ask you questions about like what kind of shed you want to build. And you can, it
Right.
just kind of, it's an assistant to access data. Um,
And this is in there now.
and
I
then,
mean, this
yeah,
is
it
there
is in
now.
there now. Yep, but they are actually building it into they're just kind of making it more robust. So you can access it through Microsoft Edge, or you could just go directly to Bing. And get to that information there. But basically, uh, you can upgrade it to Bing Chat Enterprise. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that allows you to do that kind of data loss prevention and be able to make sure that your data doesn't leak without or outside of the organization. So if it is something that you want Bing to be able to help you with, and you want to change those data sources, you can use it to pull your data. So similar to what Microsoft 365 is doing with Copilot, you can do with Bing, and you can have it access your data, and then you can also set up kind of security, since Bing isn't really an environment like 365. You have to kind of tell it what it can have access to and what it can't have access to. And then once it does show you that information, or it does pull that information, it washes it out afterwards. It doesn't save that information in Bing or any kind of
It's not
platform.
cached.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
cached. So
It's interesting. I read about this, and it's interesting in that it's basically if you go back in the history of search, it actually will search your company data and summarize it with it just in a chat related piece. Like, so you can actually say, I'm looking for this data, which has traditionally been a hard thing to find. And within this product, you can be able to do that in a much more like you're asking about a client. You're looking for a client's data, like the files that were stored about this particular client. And you say, I'm looking for this client's whatever. And you can actually search for it using, Bing. So you've got all that available to you. And it's not stored in cached or anything, so that it's not, the engine isn't storing company data.
yeah,
So,
and if you think about it, Bing is just a powerful search engine, basically, that collects links and information from across the internet. So it's doing what it's doing. It's just adding in the ability to help change the sources of that information and
yeah.
make it more of a personalized. And I think that's what a lot of the AI stuff is it makes it kind of a personalized.
Yeah.
You can ask it the same question in a bunch of different ways, and you can get a very similar answer. So
Yep. Yep. And I, for one, welcome our new AI overlords. Um, so, I'm just going to stop here real briefly and remind everybody that is watching us live. Please chat us your questions if you have questions about the new 365 features. I know they're just little updates, but they really make impacts on the product lens, especially if you happen to be using 365, obviously. So please chat us your questions. All right, John, let's move on. What else we got?
So Teams, and this is really your forte as far as product information, but Microsoft Teams has been exploding over the last year as far
Yeah.
as the way they're building it out, the features that they're adding into it. It's kind of like if you think about, I'm a musician, so I think about Kiss and how Kiss got really popular. It was because
Mhm.
they made themselves available to their fans. They gave them content, they gave them videos, they gave them all the experiences, and that's what they're doing with Teams. Is not Kiss is doing with Teams, but what Microsoft is doing with Teams is they're
I
expanding
like these
it,
things. You know that.
and they're giving you what you want. And some of this stuff, even we're going to talk about Viva in a little bit, is based on customer feedback.
Right.
They're saying,
Yeah.
hey, you should have this in there, it would be great, and they're actually taking that information and building it in there. And that's why they will do some of these first releases and everything to kind of dog food it a little bit and get feedback and figure out ways to make it better. So I'll just kind of go through this list here a little bit, and I know you have some things you want to talk about, but they're trying to make it more personalized. They're always trying to do that, with having kind of a cartoon version of yourself with an avatar. Now you
Yeah.
can decorate your background more personalized or more extensively with the premium. If you have Teams Premium, that's a new thing that's coming out. Some advanced effects on that. You can do the priority account controls, which basically just gives you more flexibility in what you can do with the Teams client itself. So one thing is, notifications about new chats. If you miss a phone call, you can actually click on chat with a person instead of trying to call them back. So there's some newer stuff in there. They have the new block or accept. If you block somebody, you can kind of permanently block them if you want, so that they can't, chat with you. A lot of that has to do with like external customers. So let's say you're supporting customers and they start, contacting you directly, and that's not the way you want to do it. You can just block them then at that point. There's the simplified compose box is actually pretty cool because what they do is they take, that little line where you're composing, like your chat message. They're going to make that actually more quickly accessible and user friendly, and you can call Copilot from right there. So that's where you'll be able to click on Copilot, and you'll be able to start saying, Copilot, help me with this response. Or you can, quick search up all of the Simpsons memes that say this, and then just fire it back to everybody. So they have a lot of stuff that's coming, even just within that little section of Teams to make it quicker and more useful. Loop elements. I don't know if a lot of people have used Microsoft Loop yet, but Microsoft Loop is a way to add a Microsoft element or a loop element to a Teams page, a chat, an email, Word doc, that you can put data into, and you only have to update it in one spot, and it updates in all of the locations.
Like a bullet list.
So yeah, a table, a bullet list, any of that kind of stuff. You can use that to update. So let's say you have something that you originally created in, a Teams channel, and you're in a chat and you want to have that come in. You can add that into your chat, and then you can update it with stuff you're talking about, and it'll write it to that Teams channel for people who weren't active in the chat. So the loop element is really cool. And you see this with a lot of the stuff that they come up with is it's something new, but it really doesn't kind of catch on right away until you start building it out a little bit more. And then people are like, I don't know how I lived without loop. So if you haven't checked out loop or the loop elements, definitely highly suggest that you go do that. Town halls, this is another one. So if you're doing that large scale event, one to many, you can do it like kind of the older video conferencing town halls where you have a host that's presenting and you have a lot of people attending. One thing to know is it's not going to display the attendee video. It's going to be just, the kind of a broadcast or kind of a one-to-many, but you can still ask questions and, communicate back and forth with it. So that'll be a new thing that'll be separate from a Teams call. It'll be considered a town hall, or actually referred to as
a new type of meeting.
It'll be
scheduled like a meeting.
Yep.
Real quick question. We have a question. Where does the master copy for the loop element live, or is there a master copy? More to the point.
There isn't really. You can create it from a bunch of different locations, but it just kind of pops it into all of those locations. So there's not really a master. You can access it from the different areas to update it. But you'll see when you go into, like, even if you go into Teams when it's available, it'll just say add loop element.
There'll be the little loop
icon. There'll be a little loop icon, and it'll say add loop element, and it'll give you a list of elements that you can pick. And as soon as you pick that, and that's also where you can actually, there's a Copilot part in there too, that you can click on, and that'll give you that element. It's that box or whatever you're adding, that graphic, and then that'll be available, in other areas. You can add it to a Teams channel or whatever. So it kind of coexists throughout the whole the whole product set within
Yep.
365.
It's across all the product. And that
Yeah,
leads to the next question, that if you update it in one spot, it updates it in
in
all
all
of
of
the
them,
spots.
right? Yep.
Yep, correct. So I hope that answers the question. Let's move on. We're getting towards the end of our program here, John, so I need to move us along here. What else we got for Teams? We got some. I'll go ahead and help you out with these because I know I've worked with you on some of these products. Um, the webinar links for the recordings. We talked about the town halls, but also webinars as part of Teams. And when you give a webinar, a lot of times one of the things that people ask for is, can I get a copy of this recording? Can I get whatever? You can actually have people fill out a request and share them on its own little page, a link to the webinar recording. And then, of course, you can expire that link after any time. A new feature too that's been asked for is cross-cloud guest access, where you can say, okay, I want the guests to be able to do more than just chat in a particular thing. Before, things like attachments and other things were not available. Now you can set up cross-cloud guest access so that there's rules and permissions and other things that need to be set up, but you can do it so that they're just a guest in your system, but at the very least you can have the guest participate in a team. Some of you may have played with this. I know I have, and it's fun. And that's to record instead of, the picture's worth 1,000 words type thing, video clips. So instead of sending a message in text form, you can send a message in video form. Record a quick message and say, no, this is what I'm really trying to say. Here it is. Let me just tell you about it, and then send. So you can record the video message. Um, Moving on to Teams calling, this is a cool one. A lot of people have asked for a shared calling license so that when they call out, uh, they all have the same phone number effectively. And that's a new feature within Teams where you can have 12 people all call out, or I'm using a number just arbitrarily, uh, 10, 12, whatever the number is, all call out with the same caller ID. And that's for where you have, a group of people and they all need to use the same caller ID and they don't have to be part of a team. Previously, they had to be part of a team. Now it's just used for generic, like phones that don't, like, they don't belong to anybody. You just say that these are shared calling. Hotline phones. This is cool. In many organizations, you have phones that are, I've been in telecom for many years, and in the old days, we used to call them ring downs, where you picked up the phone and it auto dialed a number. Well, you have that ability here now in Teams admin to say, as soon as they receive a pickup signal, it can actually um, ring a particular phone number. And then finally in Teams, they have something called the virtual front desk. That is a cool feature. There's a lot to go through with that, but effectively it allows you to create a Teams interface that could be a receptionist at a organization saying, hey, I need to talk to, HR, I need to talk to, I don't know, somebody in sales, and you walk in and have a touch screen where the people that are coming in saying, I'm here for an appointment, and they hit that, and they've got an interface for virtual front desk. All right, John, let's move on, kind of summarize the last couple of
Yep.
product
So
updates.
Microsoft Viva, I mentioned this. This is kind of like an internal social media platform for your company. They have a lot of different things new for it, branding capabilities, so you can put, skin it with your logo and your colors, which is kind of a cool aspect of it. You can send announcements. They revamped the resource section of it, and it can support different card sizes, which is, if you haven't worked with the cards within Microsoft Viva, go in there and check that out. So OneDrive updates, added individual file shortcuts for OneDrive for the web. So that's file shortcuts. These are quick links basically to files or folders, and you can actually move them, delete them, rename them without affecting the original file. So they give you a little bit more flexibility with that. You can block folders. So admins now can block folders from OneDrive Sync. So you can basically tell it not to sync certain types of folders if you don't want that data leaving and going to the desktop for offline use. Performance improvements, I put +1 to speed on this. They have faster screen loading, filtering, file moving, and renaming. So they kind of souped up the engine on that piece of it. Files on demand. So you can select a series of files on your device from the cloud that always stays on that device. As well as you can also choose to free up space so that some stuff syncs and some stuff doesn't sync. So that way you don't have your entire OneDrive syncing to your device. You can just kind of pick and choose what folders you want to always sync and some that you don't want to sync. So
which is nice, especially for things like video. You don't want to always sync your video down.
yep, or
Or
pictures or whatever. Yep.
maybe there's one video you need to sync because you're working on it, but the rest of them are just, hey, let's stream it from the web and be
Yep.
done with it.
Before
So,
it was an all or nothing. You synced it or you didn't
Yep.
sync it. So, and then this one, I think this is the last one. Outlook for Windows. So if you guys remember from before, they used to have the Mail app, I guess, that was built into,
Mail.
yeah, just called Mail. Now they have it called Outlook for Windows. So this is a free desktop Outlook version. You have to have a Microsoft account, so you do have to have either a free 365 subscription, or you have to have a paid for 365 subscription to download it. But you can run it on your desktop, and it's basically kind of like a version of Outlook on your desktop. As you can see in the picture there, it looks a little bit different. It does give you a lot of the same functionality. There are ads on the free version of it, but if you do have a 365 subscription, it's ad free. So for most of you guys, they'll probably have, at least a mail subscription. You can download it and add it to your desktop. And they do have, it's kind of meant both for the corporate landscape as well as the kind of home users. They do have different types of subscriptions just for this application. For $1.99 to $9.99 per month, so you don't have to buy a complete 365 subscription. So
kind of like a stream. It's really kind of like a streamlined version of the full Outlook line. Is that right?
yeah, and it looks very much like almost like a touch version of it. It looks
okay.
it looks easier to maneuver, more blocky kind of in the picture there. You can kind of see a little bit. And that's all we got for this week or this quarter, I guess.
There's a lot to digest. I mean, I have to say, Microsoft, I subscribe to the daily Microsoft updates, and I'm just going to make a mention for those of you who do follow 365. There is a ton of updates, and they fall mainly into the highest volume falls into two categories: Teams and Microsoft Purview, which is all that the data compliance piece and all of that. And there's definitely some security, and then 365 updates in a general sense, like the different applications and whatnot.
Yep.
So that's my personal take on it, but I can definitely tell you every time I read it's Purview, data compliance, and it's just ongoing. So any final thoughts for us, John? Anything?
Yeah, I would just say that, this is kind of why we do these, is because it is ever changing and hopefully ever changing for the better, right? But it seems like they're constantly building out all of these tools to make them, more beneficial for use and easier to use, more customizable. And it's interesting and exciting to see what they'll come out with next.
All right, excellent. Well, we've come to the end of our time together today, and we could probably go for easily another hour on all these features. But I appreciate, for those of you attending live, I really do appreciate you coming by. If you'd like to get some more information, please come and visit us on our website at www.netcenter.net. You can email us at info@netcenter.net, and you can check us out on any of our social media channels, including LinkedIn and YouTube. If you are checking us out on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and then click the notification bell so you can get notifications when we do go live, which we do approximately every 2 weeks. And the next one that we're going to be having, just keep this in mind on your calendar, is it's a preview of our upcoming Envision conference. And the Envision conference is going to be very exciting this year. If you'd like to check it out, the Envision conference, you can find out about it at netcenter.net/envision. And we have vendors and speakers coming from talking about all kinds of different topics, different hardware, software, cloud, any possible IT topics. You'll be able to network with not only industry leaders, but others of your peers. It is completely free. Registration is open. And at the URL I just said, with netcenter.net/envision, please register so we know that you're coming. It's a great time. It's a full day long, and I can't say enough good thing about it. John and I both will be there, and we'll both be speaking. So, yeah, absolutely. Please come out. With that, John, again, thanks for coming back. We'll definitely see you on here again. There's going to be more Microsoft updates, and yeah, there'll be a ton of that. So thanks again.
Sounds good. Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
and with that, thanks everyone for joining us here on NCI Live. Goodbye.